Okay, perfect. So let me share my screen. And we are once again welcome. Oh, by the way, this is we're just talking about how this is going to be what our regional pins look like this year. So just kind of going through that. Let me bring up. Ooh, what happened here? See, you're way better at this than I am, Margaret. So I'm going to bring up. So we're here to talk about interference. So I'm going to bring up a couple of the documents that we always talk about. So the roadmap, do you guys all have access to the roadmap? Hopefully, both of you. So there's information here about interference. And so the whole concept of DI is that this is done by the students. And you as a team manager are there to teach and show them how to do things, but you are not the guy that gives them ideas. You're not the guy that, glues things together for them. They have to take total ownership of their project. And there's training, there's online training for interference. So there's a lot of resources for interference, and we'll kind of go through a few tonight. So in the roadmap, let me see, on page 41, let me go down here and see where they start talking. It's like, what is interference? So in the roadmap, you're going to see the definition of interference, and it's going to talk about, again, like this is the student's challenge to solve. And so you might need to have a conversation with the parents. In fact, we highly recommend that you have a conversation with the parents so that they don't interfere, or they don't, provide any feedback or anything for the students as well. And because a lot of times they don't know that they're not supposed to. And kind of part of the thing is, right, the students go home and mom says, so what'd you do in DI today? And they go, well, we were trying to do XYZ. And all of a sudden, the parents jump in and they kind of brainstorm, because that's sort of what parents do.
You could do this and you could do this.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Have you thought about whatever? And all of a sudden, it's like gone downhill because when you interfere, if someone else offers some idea, you can't use that now because that's been brought in by somebody else. So make sure that you have that you get with the parents, and I'll show you. We have actually have like a parent agreement about interference. When I had a team, my team parents were just mortified about the word interference. It's like they knew, like ask the kids what they're doing and like, oh, that's kind of cool, but like do not jump in to try to solve them for it. That's the beauty of this. It's like all day long the kids are like, write your name here and color in the lines and all this other kind of stuff. This is their opportunity to fully own the project. So this talks about, what is interference? And this is a really good list. Like, what kind of things can the team managers do? And a lot of this boils down to questioning, right? So as you see things, you can ask questions like, how is that going to work? Or do you think that everybody in the audience could hear you? Or what do you think the best way of doing this is? Or do we need to learn more about this? And you take them to the library, kind of thing. So, and the other kind of key thing is that you can help them learn skills. So if they need to create props and they don't know how to, work with wood, you can show them how to use a saw or how to use a glue gun. You can show them all those kind of skills, like total hands-on. But when it comes to their final product that they take onto the stage, they have to do that 100%. What we also say is like use instant challenge. So in instant challenge, there is no such thing as interference, because at the tournament, when they do an instant challenge, they have no idea what they're going to do, right? So there's no way that parents can interfere because we don't know what it is either. So you can use instant challenge to kind of teach some skills that hopefully they'll think about, oh, I can use that, movement or my voice or whatever in our regular challenge without you actually telling them, right? So in instant challenge, you could say, you know what, you guys you didn't talk very loud. I couldn't really hear you. So without telling them, oh, by the way, that also applies to your team challenge, So, it's feedback that you can give them there that you wouldn't be able to give them when they're practicing their team challenge. Make sure, okay, one of the things you can interfere on is if there's a safety issue. So you don't want to like let them cut their finger and then just kind of jump in or whatever. So if there's kind of any kind of safety issues, like you for sure jump in and say, no, that you can't do it that way, or, be careful about how you're doing it. Or if they have something in their performance that could be a safety issue, or even something that might be like politically incorrect or some other kind of thing, you might be able to gently sort of lead them out of that situation that they don't know that they're really in. Ask open-ended questions. That's kind of the big thing. Then we have then there's an interference quiz, and you can take this with your team members. And there's something kind of like this. Like I said, there's online training specifically for interference. And so you can go through that, and it's interactive. Like, is this interference or not? So yeah, like when I see stuff like the team manager fixes the prop, okay, that's like big red flag. So you can go through these. I won't go through those here, but you kind of get the idea. So that is 41 and 42. Oh, see, here's the answers to the quiz, which is cool. So you can get that in the roadmap. Then in the rules of the road, so you know that the roadmap is kind of the textbook for DI. Rules of the road is like the rules of DI, and a lot of this pertains to the tournament, like what you can expect at the tournament, and how the scoring works and stuff like that. But they've got a couple interesting parts here, and I'll kind of go this in reverse order. On page here, we talk about interference here too. And in rules of the road, they talk about, this goes on for like 4 pages about, what you can do. You can teach skills, you can help with the rules, but you cannot help with the solution. And it's not, again, it's not just you. It's like, make sure that the parents, but also let the DIers know that if they go to class and they say what they're doing, and one of their classmates who's not on a team says something, that's interference too, right? And it's not just something as obvious as don't do that, or you should do this, you should do it this way, or make it red or whatever. There's, like, you can't also kind of herd them down to a solution kind of thing. So there's like obvious, and then there's kind of subtle interference. So skills, you could do skills, the rules. Your team solution is your teams alone.
Let me break in for 1 second here.
Yes.
Your team solution is your teams alone. I think that in addition to making sure parents at the beginning of the season understand that they need to be hands off, that they need to take a very back seat, and they need to not insert themselves into what their children are doing. And as parents, we're used to answering our kids' questions. I don't know how to make this work. Well, you could just use this and that. It goes against our instincts. But when you tell the kids, what's the best part about DI? No adult can tell you what to do. And they're like, yeah. If you imbue in them, embed in their little psyches that it is truly theirs, and you can, and you reinforce that with your behavior, with having really a zero tolerance for outside opinions, and it's more opinions and suggestions than anything else. Because if the kids understand that if they ask to be taught how to do something, if they think, I need to be able to, sew a seam, that is completely okay. Somebody can teach them. And I always say, until they, get to the point where they've broken enough of your needles on your sewing machine that you say, enough, find another way. I'm not going to let you use my sewing machine. Okay, then what else could we do? We could use duct tape. We could use a stapler. We could use that iron-on stuff. We could use some kind of glue. We could use, what are the other things we could do? That's where the questioning comes in. If the kids understand when an adult says, I think you should try, that they say, time, no.
Yep.
And if you, as a team manager, enable them, enforce with them that they say, I don't want you to tell me how to do it. I don't want your opinions or your suggestions, that they will really become their own police. And then when you, as part of a team meeting, and they say, we want to make costumes, how do you put costumes together? Well, you could do, they do a little bit of research, they come up with their ideas. And then when they say, we want to learn how to sew, we want to learn how to wire a battery to some kind of motor, we want to learn how to do something that will make our solution better, then you find somebody who can teach them how to do it, as long as that person doesn't hold the soldering iron or run the fabric through the sewing machine. So get the kids to the point, like Catherine was saying, her parents were like, I'm not even going to talk about it. And the kids were like, you're not going to give me any solutions.
And that's I should have started with that. Thank you, Margaret. That first and foremost, you want your team to understand what interference is. So like Margaret said, they can be their own police. Like the mom says, hey, have you thought about it? It's like, no, I don't want to hear that kind of thing. And then in terms of teaching, you can, so like Lowe's and Hope Depot, I think both kind of do those like Saturday morning, make a birdhouse kind of thing. Like go to those, because then, it doesn't have to be you being the teacher. In fact, one time with our team, we went to Home Depot just kind of looking for inspiration. And like Mr. Tim came over and says, hey, what are you guys doing? And they were explaining to him. And he's like, wow, have you thought about, how you want this to work or whatever? And it was like fabulous. And he, I don't know that he knew DI, but he like knew enough, like as a teacher in him, I guess, to, kind of lead them along. Another thing that you can do as the adult is that you can run errands for them. So if they say, you know what, we're going to need, 2 of these and 8 of these and whatever, they give you a list, you can go and buy that for them. Or if they want it cut to length or whatever. So you can be kind of their gopher to do some of that too.
But if they say we need fabric for the wood, we need fabric for such and such costume.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go to the fabric store and say, right. Oh, I think this fabric is the cutest one. I'll get this fabric. They have to go and say, but if they say we looked at all of these different fabrics and we decided now that we've got a pattern, we've got, we know what we need. Okay, we need 2 yards of that super duper, bear cub stuff.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Yeah. So you can go get, So it's like Instacart, right? They're not just bringing you what they think. It's like, you got to tell them exactly. Okay, so you get the gist. There's a lot of, and I will say in our next newsletter, I'll have specifically like what page numbers these kind of came from. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is that on page 11, I was looking at this the other day because somebody was asking like some team question, and it occurred to me that you have to watch out. So in the beginning of the season like this, you might have team members kind of coming and going. And if you've already started talking about the solution and you've got somebody that kind of helped with that, and now it turns out they can't be on the team or whatever, you can't take what they suggested as part of the solution. That's considered interference as well. So kind of keep that in mind, that kids that are coming and going, you can only use the ideas from the team who's going to be like actually competing. And then there's a couple of, and again, I'll have links to this. Here's this interference contract that you can kind of have your parents sign so they kind of understand what this is. Because I mean, it is our knee-jerk reaction to like jump in and solve the problem, right? As parents, it's like, okay, that's like, don't do that here. And then we have a couple other documents.
And the contract is good and well. And it is a great way to get everybody on the same page. But at the tournament, the night before tournament, the team has to sign and the team manager has to sign what is called
Right.
the Declaration of Independence. And that
Right.
is a form that is taken very seriously at the tournament, both in the instant challenge room and as well at the main challenge site. That the team all sign, that nobody but the 6 or 7 of us did this or that or this
Right.
or that, put their ideas, put their hands in, put their opinions in, and the worst thing we could do in this program would be to ask kids in the 2 days before the tournament to lie on and sign a form that is not true. So if you take this seriously and they're going to sign the Declaration of Independence that we did it ourselves, then you have to walk that walk all season long.
Yep. And then there is, we have another handout that's interference, yes or no. And it's kind of the same kind of thing, like what can we do, what can we not do, kind of thing. And
And this
again,
is real
kind of
helpful because it goes through pieces and parts of, in this aspect, when we're just conceptual. What about when we're in the performance? What about when we're making things? So it's really, really helpful about what you can do and what you can't do.
so it's kind of situational. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then we have the other one is questioning. And again, questioning is kind of the key to this whole thing about, you like whenever they ask you something, you answer them with a question as well. It's like, well, I don't know. Do you think the audience can hear you? Or, and here's a lot of sort of those questions that you're getting them to think and getting them to solve um, to solve their questions.
And
All
my
right.
younger daughter was the DIer, and my 2 middle school boys at the time were like, "Oh my God, would you stop DIing me?" Because when they would say, "Hey, I don't have enough money to do this or that. Can I have some money?" And I'd be like, bummer. What do you think you should do about that? How else could you get some money? And I started asking them questions instead of just giving them answers. And they were like, "Stop."
There's also a in some of the resources I have, there's a game. It's like move three spaces forward if you answered this interference question correctly or whatever. And I'll put that link out there too. So let me stop
And
the
these are
recording.
resources that are in our resources section on our website, the last couple of
Yes, on
things
our
that she was
website.
showing.
Yeah. So you'll be able to find those there. I think what the game is maybe from New Hampshire, so I'll like put that link out there so people can see. So let me stop.